Today I will be reviewing Hornby's recent interpretation of LNER number 4491, Commonwealth of Australia. This is a limited edition of 1500 units, produced to celebrate 75 years since the introduction of the Coronation service. 4491 was one of 5 A4s named after Commonwealth countries, which also includes Empire of India, Dominion of New Zealand, Union of South Africa, and of course Dominion of Canada. Two of these locomotives survive to this day thanks to the efforts of the Canadian Railway Museum and John Cameron, who owns Union of South Africa. Commonwealth of Australia entered service on the 22nd of June 1937. A feature unique to 4491 was the nameplate length. The plate was simply too long to make as one casting, so it was made in two parts. The locomotive survived into British Railway service, but was eventually cut up in 1965. The packaging is the very familiar Hornby red box, with a decorated sleeve and the split foam packaging in which the locomotive can be lifted out without risk of damaging the model. The Hornby A4 dates right back to the early 00 models. The tooling evolved from the early clockwork models through the tender-driven era up till the latest loco-driven super detail renditions. Commonwealth of Australia is amongst the latter, despite its detail shortcomings. The model comes as DCC ready, with the 8-pin socket located in the tender. There is a 4-wire harness leading from the loco into the tender, completing the electrical circuit. Pickups are fitted on the driving wheels and the tender, but the tender must be connected for the locomotive to operate. The tender has an NEM coupling pocket, allowing the user to fit alternative NEM compatible couplings. The locomotive is part of the super detail range from Hornby. The latest A4 tooling has been utilised well. The model comes fitted with wire handrails, printed numerals and crest, printed lettering and a painted silver trim. Cab detail is very intricate, replicating the real thing to a high standard. She is a single chimney example of the A4, and much like her sisters, the extra detail is very well defined. The valve gear is also the modern fine type. When compared to Margate or railroad examples, the difference is fairly obvious. Although the finer detail does make the parts slightly less robust, a careful owner will not have any problems. The locomotive also comes supplied with the A4 detailing pack. This includes the cylinder cocks and a flanged wheel set for the cut taxi truck. There are a few known detailing errors with the model. The silver trim along the bottom of the tender is incorrectly placed. The lining has been positioned on the tender body itself rather than below as per prototype. The font on the nameplate is incorrect. The printing on the box is okay, but the actual production model is noticeably smaller. The nameplate should be in red, and the numbers are too big. Having read into the cause of these omissions, there are stories that indicate a change of manufacturer at the last minute, and with the changeover, these errors were made on the final production run. The performance on the modern A1, A3, A4 chassis is very good. Due to there being pickups on both the locomotive and tender, it does not get caught on dead track, i.e. frogs and guide rails. The mechanism is smooth and will remain near silent if maintained and serviced adequately. With a recommended retail price of £144.99, even the most die-hard A4 fan would be hard pushed to fork out for the model. Although it is a nice model, the obvious detailing errors are very difficult to ignore. I managed to acquire my example from the Hornby Roadshow, which cost a much more reasonable £80. Although she is a fine locomotive, the detailing errors condemn her to a near miss on Hornby's part. To expect to pay a penny short of £145 is too much for many to justify. That said, if you can get the model for a much fairer price and you are happy to either live with or fix the detail, you will have a very nice locomotive to show for it. I have fitted my model with the ESU Locksound V4 sound chip. The sounds were sampled from Union of South Africa. The recordings are authentic, and if paired with a good speaker, your locomotive will sound good. As the sampled A4 has a unique chime whistle, Those with a good ear will be able to hear the difference in tones. The sound chip also functions on DC, taking adjustments from the voltage fed through it. The chip can be sourced for between £95 and £110, but there are alternatives on the market.